We had a great podcast last week, getting a lot of good feedback on it.
Which one? Oh, was that the one
The
where
one
we
where
were
we
talking shit?
talking nice about Alex, talking shit about business owners, all that.
I have like some additions to that now that I think about that.
Dude,
Because
maybe we need to do a part 2.
I don't know. I have this internal struggle, and the internal struggle is one, someone needs to hold people accountable for creating subpar things.
Sure.
The other side of it is, of course, you are able to make a better chicken sandwich than everybody else. Now,
That's awesome,
I'll
dude.
break it down.
Okay, I'm down. Everybody, let's hear how awesome I am.
We could use another. It would be kind of okay. So you are, in the context of having a pop up,
Sure.
a chicken sandwich pop up or whatever pop up. It could be the same as a coffee pop up. It's one day.
Yeah.
You have whatever amount of time you choose to prepare
Sure.
for it. All you have to do that day is do that thing,
Right.
and you oversee it A to Z
And then it's done.
the whole time, and
Right.
it's done. It would be the same thing where if I decided to do a coffee pop-up
Right.
and I was the only person making espresso and completely running
delicious.
the service, it would be better than any other
Right.
coffee shop experience ever, because once you scale, even though you have systems built in to help you do the thing much more easily,
Yeah.
there's always levels of disconnect from the main thing.
Sure.
Right.
Like
So-
the most experienced person isn't going to be the one doing it as much anymore.
Right.
Right.
So there's that. So I just wanted to have that level
The
of
acknowledgement
of like, okay, yeah, there is something special when you have that one person being in the one zone doing the
Right.
and that is
Well, and we talked about that in our Friday meeting too, or whatever day, when we had 2 weekends in a row, but the first weekend we had our busiest day ever at Swift Street, and it quote unquote didn't feel busy, and 2 of our most senior people were running the registers as concierge and just cranking. And so the difference between 2 of our most seasoned veterans who know how to handle all the vibes doing that made it feel really easy. However, the next weekend we beat it again, which is awesome. 2 of the best weekends we've ever had at Swift. But then again, there's some spades there because we were also doing like an insane training and they had 10 people on the floor.
yeah.
So you had a lot of really passionate people who don't have a lot of experience, but they were all able to do like 1 or 2 things together, which probably equals the same amount of work as. So it's just, I was just thinking about that correlation.
One of the new people is only ringing things up, and
Right.
the other new person that's in tandem with them on the register is only talking to guests.
Yeah,
So
and the other
you
one's
have-
only cleaning the place and only busting it, like it's going to
Yeah.
be immaculate.
Yeah, I got 10 people behind the counter.
Yeah. But I mean, you're totally right with that point. Is the more you scale, the more you have to factor in the time of just ability and skill set to grow, and that you can't do that without reps. And that's something I think that people don't take into account when they assume. I remember back in the day when we were told, you had been moved to a different department. We're going to open 40 stores in 10 years and we're going to bust it open. And this is not the case. And it wasn't the case like about a year and a half later. But for an initial amount of time, it was, hey, Jer, you're going to be in charge of making sure that we can open 40 stores that run as well as our current stores in the next 10 years. And that's like what we do. And that was what I was always struggling with. I was like, but you can't, because I've been doing this for 7 years. And I'm just like, even all of us, like we can make people good, but we're not going to make them like it is now.
Yeah.
40 times over in the next 10 years. That's 4 stores a year.
You can make them run efficiently,
Yep.
but you can't deliver the same level of experience.
Quality
it's just
experience,
impossible.
any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you go Starbucks style, which we weren't, that was not the plan.
No.
Yeah. You can't do that. It's important to recognize what you can do and then recognize what's still amazing in the context of getting those reps in and allowing for that growth to happen. The organic, truthful growth of people.
And that's a weird matrix that most people with growing business are going to have to deal with. The reality that there's a reason why most big chains are kind of underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to scale something that feels super, super special.
Yeah, you got to sacrifice parts potentially. It's either you go slow or you sacrifice parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go slower than you like, maybe
Go
is the better way to
slower than
say it.
you like, or end up with something that's a little bit just
It looks like a dog, but
different.
it smells like a cat. Whatever that means.
It's a good analogy. Is it a ferret?
It's a ferret. I set out to make a dog, but I've made a
This is my
ferret.
ferret.
It's pretty weird.
This is my ferret shop.
Gets into a lot of riffraff, just getting crazy out there. Yeah, I mean, as we think about our next steps, it's something to consider. And I think we all have a pretty good head on our shoulders in terms of trying not to do too much, just because we've been to the place where we've gotten ourselves in a pinch of trying to do too much. And then at the same time, now we are starting to hit that reality of, okay, we have to start thinking about what's next for the business. And I think that's awesome. I don't have a real clear sense beyond like a couple of small things that maybe we don't even talk about here specifically on this podcast yet. I mean, we kind of in the manifesting podcast that we talked about with Charles, we danced around some of the ideas, but the specificity of like what to do next is not necessarily intimidating. It's just like, what's the right best choice? And I don't know if I feel intimidated by that or I just don't have clarity on it. You know?
I know exactly how you feel. I mean, okay, Jesus. Well, okay, I've been asking myself this question, which is what gets me super, super juiced? And what's the next level of taking what we want to do
Sure.
and spinning it forward? And I don't know right off the top of my head if I'm being 100% honest with myself. Like at this moment in my life right now, that thing is not another cafe in
Sure.
the same vein of the cafes that we have now.
Sure.
Our cafes are awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't think if I was forced to be, okay, what's your next project? And I was going to say, let's do another one of these.
Right.
It would make me.
The passion wouldn't be there the same, right?
It wouldn't be there the same.
Yeah. I get that. But that doesn't also negate or you cancel out the idea that some form of a cafe-esque isn't available. It just means that we have to be more creative and intentional than we were. Not even that they're not, but just it needs to be different than what we've done before. That's all.
And it doesn't even mean that we don't need to do it. It just means that it might not be a project that I feel deeply involved with,
for sure.
and that's actually okay.
Yeah, that's part of business. I get
multiple projects going on under the same umbrella,
Yeah.
and there's like different levels of connection with different people to all of them. So it's like we could do that, and that could be happening, and I could be like, hey, that's another cafe.
Yeah.
Great.
And totally. It just might not be your big.
It's not changing my life
game changer
necessarily in
Right.
a huge way, which is a weird thing to hold at the same time, to be like really excited about something and also know that like, yeah, this is awesome. It's not the biggest thing in my world, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. Like,
Yeah.
And that's
okay.
fine. Yeah.
That's absolutely okay. I imagine, like, if I were whatever, call me. We'll go back to Disney because I do that a lot. It's like I imagine that they've come up with new attractions that many people are like, I would have picked a different attraction, but this is the one we picked, and then they get on board, right? It's like I figure that'd be a similar vibe.
Yeah, you're working on something. I mean,
you can totally get into it. You'll get into aspects of it, but at the end of the day, you might have picked another Star Wars ride versus a Princess and the Frog ride, and the Princess and the Frog ride is the go time, and then you still get psyched on parts of whatever, the infinite amount of details that go into some shit like that.
Where is Star Wars Land in Disneyland? Is it its own whole new thing?
Yeah, so if you were to look at Disneyland, it's kind of like a big oval. There was this space up here, and it's like Thunder Mountains right here and Splash Mountains right here, essentially. And then you walk into it from all these directions.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a good analogy because I'd be like, dude, I want to work on Star Wars Land. Can we just not do anything else in California Adventure? Because I'm just fucking over California Adventure or whatever. You know? Like, I understand its value. I'm proud of it. It's exciting. But
that's just not where I'm at right now.
It's not the next thing.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about our vision, too.
Yeah, man.
And reworking it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, we've talked about this just a little to help it be a little clearer.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we've talked about that, and Totally.
The more I chat, the more I feel like there's, and again, I'm on the slippery slope here because
Watch out, everybody.
when we talk about
Anything.
our
How about?
mission,
Yeah.
it feels so powerful. It feels so real. It
Yeah.
feels so right. The idea of inspiring connection by creating memorable experiences
Perfect.
hits super hard with both of us and has informed a lot of how we got here in the first place. Like every step of the way, no matter where we were at from the time we started engaging with this world of coffee, we found this sense of place and this way to connect with people and create experiences with people that both led to those people feeling happy, but also created a channel and a path for us to level up and grow within the craft that we've chosen, right? So that attention to detail of looking outside yourself to make something super special for other people, at least for me, has led to every amazing thing that I've gotten to do in my life that revolves around coffee. Starting with the, working in a coffee shop, cool. The first level is having people come in and just recognize the hard work that you're doing. It's like, I really love when you're on bar, like everything tastes good. I feel good.
You make the best mochas.
It makes me happy
it's
to
real.
come in here when you're in here. Yeah, you make the best mochas.
Like it's same recipe, but thank you.
To getting, the first version of whatever your dream job is. So for me, that was, working at Ritual in 2006 in that era. And then being in there, having that same attitude to be able to separate yourself and do something special within a group of people that's already doing something really, really special to where, you get the opportunity to compete in barista competitions, or you get the opportunity. I was chatting with Steven from Art Presso yesterday because he just went to Milan, and I was like reminiscing about when I got to go to Milan. And all of those things aren't because I'm a super special person. It's just because I was paying attention to the work and being known for not the guy that's just good at making coffee, but the guy that can bring the energy in the room up and create an experience for other
to the
people.
Table. Yeah.
That's why you're the one who gets asked to go where, like, oh, you want to work at a booth at the host show in Milan because I know you're going to kill it and people are going to love it.
Yeah.
Great. So that whole idea feels deeply rooted in Cat and Cloud.
Sure.
And when we talk about a discussion we've had a few times, when we talk about mission, vision, values, the mission feels crystal clear. The values also feel crystal clear. The vision is good, but so many things just come back to the mission,
right?
Which presents a couple different questions.
It presents a good question of how is the mission so strong? It's a good question. Because the mission is so strong that it overtakes everything else. And that's good.
Yes.
But it also means we have opportunity to clarify the vision a little better. And that's also good.
Right.
I totally agree.
Yeah. How can we clarify the vision better? Also, what's the biggest difference between
a vision and a
mission and a vision?
Right. And we've nailed down what we mean by that, but then you have to find the wording and the clarification for the vision to make sure that it doesn't overlap with the mission. And that, I think, is the challenge. Yeah?
Yes.
Like the clarity of the why
so
can be still built in. Like people have clarity of why in our mission currently, right? Like why to create memorable experiences, even though it's a what. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that there's a little bit of a paradox there.
Yeah.
If for people like yourself and myself who want it to be clearer, some people might not see that at all. But I totally, at least that's what I do with it. Is I'm like, our mission could also be a vision, and that doesn't mean it should be. I think there's more to our vision than our mission. And that's where you and I think, are having this conversation here, but also have had it many times over.
Yeah, it's weird to see how it breaks out, because a vision is 100% different than a mission.
Yep.
But then if you're taking some companies who, let's say they don't use that language and they just have what they would call a sense of purpose, it would be really easy to plug in the mission as that purpose. Like, what is our purpose? Cool.
Yeah.
Our purpose is to inspire connection by creating memorable experiences. So if you use that language, then you don't have that quirkiness of mission versus vision, or whatever. But I think in the context of vision, the thing that separates the vision from the mission is the mission. The mission is a what
it totally is a what
thing, and it's got whys behind it, like you said. But it is something that we can do. You can do it in any given day.
Right.
Like, you can come to work, inspire connection, create a memorable experience for someone at any level, no matter where you work in the company.
Mm-hmm.
It's a known factor.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it whether you work in the roastery. You can do it whether you work concierge. You
Mm-hmm.
can do it in the kitchen. You don't even have to do it with guests. You can do it with the people that you work with. You can do
Mm-hmm.
it up and down the chain of
You
command.
do it for yourself.
You can do
Literally
it for yourself.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Right. And that's, I think, why we're so comfortable and not comfortable, confident in it is that we've spent enough time exploring all this stuff physically in and of itself that we know it to be true and we believe it to be the game changer.
Yep. And then the vision, a vision by definition, is something that doesn't actually exist yet.
Right. Yeah. It's where
And
you'd love to go.
right. And I think one of the challenges that I've had with processing the mission and the vision is whenever you refer to mission vision or whys versus what's, if you're looking at it in terms of that hierarchy, you know, in that Simon Sinek golden circle, the why is like the driving force behind everything, right? And organizations and people that lead with why have infinitely more power in the messages that they speak. But I'm like in this place where I'm kind of holding the vision and the mission at the same level. They both feel like they could be equally,
I'd say,
important to me.
Personally, the way we talk about our vision, I think the mission means more to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the vision, and I don't even need clarity on how the vision works, right? But the vision, it's almost just too loose.
It's too loose.
Yeah.
Well, it's very vague.
Right. And I'm like, you know, the world knows I'm down with ethereal, but this mission vision is, it's different than ethereal. You're right. I think vague is the better term. There's ethereal and dreamy and magical and filled with belief why, and then there's vague. I think I could see a bunch of ways that lands, but it's not clear enough for me to talk about on its own in a way that I know it means what it means to you or Charles.
Here's
If
what
that makes sense. Yeah.
And I don't even think it means much to me in the way that it's written. I think when we were writing it, we were all trying to figure out how to express something.
Right. I mean, to get the values and the mission though right and dialed in along with hats to support it, like those three things were significant for the transition. So, you know, I think we did really, really well.
Oh, we're doing great.
So I totally, yeah.
And I think this is what I've been thinking about lately, which is we had mission, vision, values. The original, whatever we're going to call vision, what we'd use before whatever, our rebirth.
Yeah, like
was kind of leave people feeling happier than we found them.
Yeah.
Or was that mission? What did vision?
That was the mission.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, anyway. It will sit here for a
remember
while. It'll come, but it's all like, the thing is we changed it pretty quickly, right? Because it was really long and wordy, and even leave people happier than you found them wasn't the original mission. It was part of it. There was more to it than that. It was like a full, not a sentence, but like whatever, a half sentence. It was da 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 da, and if we leave people happier than we found them, we did our job. And it was like too long. And then the vision, gosh, I don't know, something to do with people coming together and making the world a better place and it was still kind of making businesses better, right? Oh, it was to make every business a better place or some shit like that, right? Something like not ridiculous, but something that was like, to not knock it, our current vision is not an insanely far evolution from our original vision. Even though it's better by a long shot. If you were to break down the words, it's like, if I remember right, or maybe I'm totally missing. I don't know. It's been too long. It's been almost it'll be 5 years at the end of September. So we're at our half century mark. Just kidding. That's half centennial. Centennial?
I mean, maybe we're closer to what's in my head than like, maybe we were closer in the beginning to what's in my head. Because when I think about what would be the great thing that would happen if we kept doing what we're doing, the our mission operates very much internally. It's like shit that we do all the time.
Sure.
But what would be the effect of doing that over and over? And I think, like, for me, I'm like, oh, cool. This isn't flowery language, but what I would like to see, what would be great for the world, is if there were more businesses like ours. And
That would be good for
you
the
know, what
world.
does that mean? Like, oh, if there were more values-based businesses, if there were more businesses who put culture at the forefront of what they do,
Right.
like that's
through lines that are true.
That's kind of like the vision that I'm like putting before me in my head is like, how can we serve the bigger culture at large? So undoubtedly, we have an effect on the people who come in and out of the doors every day, but being that model for a different way to do business. Like, if we were going to
we want to change the way the world does business. That was our original vision. Change the way the world does business.
Maybe that is the best vision.
That was what it was, right? Remember?
It was.
Yeah.
Why is it not anymore?
We
were making it really specific.
We were trying. So yeah, like I don't disagree that I think that is like the overarching statement. I think the hard part was how to articulate that clearly so that people internally, and I think it worked negatively with our original mission, and our original values just didn't support it clear enough as well, is that you didn't know how that all worked. And so, I mean, I agree, change the way the world does business is very true.
It needs more specificity,
for
sure.
It does, for me. Yeah.
That feels, because I feel like we transitioned from like having a business-focused vision to a very personal human.
It was
focus,
a holistic growth
whereas
vision.
Because now in its current state, it's like create a world in which every businesses leave like the people that they touch more equipped than they found them. Yeah. Which is great.
It's great.
But I think at the core, when I think about it, is I want to see more legit values-based business. Because that is the key. Like, I'm seeing businesses shape culture because businesses touch a lot of people.
Yeah.
People get jobs at businesses. So if you're coming of age and it's that time where you have to get a job, you have to do something, how you engage in the workplace greatly shapes how the rest of your life is going to go. It's, you have the skills that you learn from being in school and being around other people, and then entering in the workforce is a whole different level of socialization and education.
Yeah.
So for people who are setting up those organizations that all these people will interact with, if we can create this world where more people set those up more intentionally, create amazing businesses from the ground up, businesses that have a sense of purpose and not just businesses that are there to make money, the cultural effect on that is going to be huge.
Absolutely.
And we say some version of that when we do orientation. That's like,
we speak on it.
We're not saying, our dream is not that Cat and Cloud, we do this and that's what sets us apart. Like, our dream is that more people will pick up on this.
Yes.
And
so we can experience a better world.
Yeah. For the people in the workforce and for us selfishly too. It's like, I
100%.
want to go to more businesses that give a shit.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no reason they should be so rare.
You summed it up with the thing that I thought at first you might not leave out, but that for me is like the key is I want to see more intentional businesses that own what they're trying to do outright through their mission and their values and their vision. I don't want to go to a place that's supposed to be something, but it doesn't feel like that. And I don't want people to go to these places to work and get a different experience. And that's something that we both take pride in when guests and team members tell us what you talked about in orientation is real here. And I've not experienced that. And that alone to me kind of sums up what I'd love.
Or homeboy yesterday.
Right.
He wrote a note. He's like, everything you say on the podcast is true. I came from Atlanta.
Right. I went to two different locations. Everybody was insane. The coffee was this. Like, it did it. It did it better than I thought it did it. And that to me is what I would like to see happen in every other business and I'd like for us to be a beacon to show that that's possible. Not only that, though, I'd like to be able and available to help people get there in some capacity. So if we were that, to sum up our vision, you're right. It has changed the way the world does business, but it's almost like it does need to be clear. It's like, show the world that intention and true mission, and like show the world what a mission, vision, and values and intention actually are, and how to use them.
So what we're talking about now,
this is all a process, right? This is just for the world. This is what brainstorming and processing is. This is how we process shit. Usually, and Charles is here also typically, but here we are. This happens a lot.
Yeah, he's just not here. So fuck you, Charles.
We came up with it.
We figured it out without you. And, if you're going to be a part of this business, you got to show up. I don't know where you are.
He's in the roastery, like crunching the numbers. He's all just ordering stuff and killing it right now. Yeah. Well, me too. I'm killing it.
We have an ownership date tonight, actually.
I'm killing the water.
5 p.m.
5 p.m.
Mobo sushi. Anybody want to meet up with us? Come over.
But also sit at a different table. We got shit to talk about.
So where this ties back to kind of what we were talking about before in terms of new projects, stuff that I've been thinking about is through the things I've been writing and the conversations that I've been having.
Yeah.
This is an area where I'm much more passionate than more so than opening up another cafe.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to business owners. I talk to people who are starting projects or diving into things, and they're looking for help. Yeah. Not just in a how do I do this thing, but some sort of support and knowledge. And I don't know what form that takes, whether it's a
totally. It's like
some sort of group or some sort of education or some sort of something. But I'm kicking around ideas for resources for people who can dive in and just feel like they're not alone in the process. And I don't know, dude. It's like that feeling you have when you talk to other business owners and they're like finally in a group where they feel safe enough to be like, oh my gosh, like this, and that. And you're like, oh yeah, I totally know how you feel. Yeah. You fucking do that too? Oh my God. This thing has been driving me nuts, and I don't know I don't know if I'm allowed to even feel this way. And because I don't know that I'm allowed to even feel this way, or I don't know if there's something wrong with me, I never ever talk about it or make an attempt to change. I don't even accept that this feeling that I have, which is negative and making me feel bad, could be changed.
Right.
Because all along the way, people have been telling me like, hey man, that's just how the world is.
Right. Shit's been baked in at some point.
That's just what it is. If you want to do something awesome, you got to pay the cost. And this is you just paying the cost. So be like, okay, I guess I'm just paying the costs.
Yeah.
And because of that, you have a whole group of people who are building these things and don't really get to enjoy them. Like everybody else gets to enjoy them way more than that person gets to enjoy them.
That's probably a key to what we'd like our vision to do too. That's like something that I think is worth noting, is that we want people to be able to enjoy the creations that they've made as the owners of them unapologetically.
Yeah,
right.
Because it's the other way around. It's really not worth it. Like,
well, you're really lonely out there.
You're spending all your time, money, energy. You're fried. You're just totally fucked. And
everybody who doesn't like what you did, you get to be the bad person,
and you don't get any joy. Out of doing this thing, and that's sad. And
some of that's going to happen no matter what, and it's really hard.
It shouldn't feel that way all the time,
right?
I mean, how many? I don't know. I can't even count the number of people that I talk to who have something that from the outside looking in looks really awesome, but are borderline just ready to quit at any given time because it doesn't feel good to them. Yeah,
you feel like the bad guy all the time for trying to lead some. I mean, and that's an exaggeration, but that's a feeling that people have, is that you feel like you're always failing, you're always blowing it, you're never good enough, and yet from the outside looking in, people are like, your business rules, and internally you just don't feel that way. We've both been there.
That's one emotion of many
emotions. Yeah, and that's just one of the heavy ones to carry if you're just getting it from your team. But yeah, absolutely. That's just something I think is worth noting if we're going to try to get clear on the vision. It's that we could teach is such a egocentric way of saying it, like we have the answers.
Facilitate learning.
We could assist in helping people to find the way to have a business that they can enjoy running through the stresses, through the hardships, through the process of betterment, which indefinitely comes with challenge and challenge and challenge and challenge over and over and over again. So that's rad. You're right. There's some really good verbiage there. I also think too, there's part of it for me is the ability to provide pathways for people who are going to want to be on a path similar to ours. So what that means to kind of like, in terms of action, is I do believe in creating more spaces for people to grow. And I think we're getting to the place where you and I don't have to be the aggregate of making that happen, because we have capable people who are down with the mission and values. So the ability to pass on your mission and values and create a clear vision so that people can grab the baton from you and keep running in a direction while you maybe make a left and go to create something else is absolutely a key ingredient for me is here too, right? And this has kind of been true since the beginning. We talked about this, and this is why we've worked it we attempted to work this into our mission and vision and values at the very beginning. Is I want to be able to retain the people who want to do things the way we want to do them. And with that comes a little bit of responsibility of providing them opportunity to grow in multiple ways. There's going to be times when it's monetarily, which I want. There's also got to be the other side, which is the school of business in life, which is also something I believe we both want kind of baked into this business ethos as well. And we're also open about that part. It's just in order to, simple business, end up paying people more, promoting more people, bringing people on to do new projects, we have to provide pathways that will in turn somehow, whether it's tangibly or intangibly, because the culture grows like a motherfucker, bring in more revenue to pay people to do more things. And that's the simple A plus B equals C business, where I think the non-creative business owners decide to go chain, or maybe they decide to go franchise so they don't even have to do it, but they can make money off of it. That's the paradox of business, right? It's not even a paradox.
Not even
of
a paradox.
That's just what business is. It's
yeah.
you provide more opportunities, which has always been a passion of mine from the beginning. Provide more opportunities. The way we said it at the beginning was wrong, which was you can come here, we can create whatever we want, which is actually true, but we can create whatever we want does not mean you get to create your own pathway to everywhere in the world, and we'll just choose 20 different adventures that don't align and spread ourselves thin. That's kind of what people thought we were saying at the beginning. That's not what we mean. But we can come together and we can do anything with the right people and the right mission and values. So that is on my mind. How do we provide or begin providing those next steps? And there are a myriad of ways we're capable of doing. It's picking the right ones. And then also shit that's like we don't know how it's going to affect. Like we could have some 10x stuff happen that we're currently working on that just tips the scales based on visual marketing and connection and some of those things too, right? There's like so many factors that we don't know.
Well, I think the thing is not to figure out what the future is.
Right.
The thing is to take action on something.
The right
because
things,
we know that we need to do more to keep this thing going and invest in the people that have grown so much with us. Mm-hmm. We have to pick whatever our pain point is. Our pain point can either be figure out how to grow and push through that stress, or a pain point can be figure out how to turn over more leadership, and then we spend our time pushing through that thing.
And just going
so
back.
I'm like, let's just fucking growth is going to be way more fun because there's way more opportunity. It's more creative. It's more interesting.
The stress that comes with the new is more life-giving than the stress that comes with repeating the old.
Absolutely. Yes. And then you get a chance to pass that baton, like you said, because you can't hold on to it.
And there's so much pride in that for both parties. I love that. Like that's the shit to me. Like I am so psyched on that. When I can hand something to somebody and I know that they know what they're trying to do with it, even if they don't know exactly all of it, but they know what they're trying to do, I'm like, fuck yeah, high five, you have earned this. I want to do that a lot. That's like, to me, that's the ultimate. And it's cool to feel like you provided an opportunity and at the same time, like bonded in a connection through it. And then also are able to, whatever, go show somebody how to create a chicken pop-up and find the right person to repeat it over and over and again to make it into a restaurant. And that's not even necessarily one that I'm terribly passionate about.
You
I
only
just
talk
want good
about it
shit.
every week, so you're probably not passionate about it at
Well,
all.
it's different. It's the passion is like that I want it, but I don't want to do it. That's what's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to develop the recipe. I want to hand it to somebody who's totally capable, and I want to believe in them. And
Is
so
that not what doing it is?
I know it just feels
How
like,
is that different than owning a coffee shop?
well, I guess the difference is for me is that I have walked the path of the coffee shop so much that I feel like it's a little bit, maybe it's imposter syndrome-y in that, well, I haven't done it and like earned my cooking wings, even though I can make it really good. And it's not really fair. Like it's not synonymous. It's just the difference of like, no, I could actually walk into that coffee shop and do all the stuff. And I could walk into the chicken place and I guess I could do all the stuff, but I just am like, never done it before. So I don't know if that makes, I guess it's just, it feels actually, okay, here's what it is. It's insecurity because it feels like it's proper entrepreneurship, which I never wanted to do, which is like, I create businesses for people to work in, and it makes me feel like I'm a boss and not a working semi-peer, and it's not true, but that's like the insecurity of it.
How
Is
much
that,
better would it be if you had that attitude with what we have right now? Because I think about that sometimes because it's like,
well, I have it now. You mean like the attitude I have right now is currently sort of being adopted into our company, but like
yeah, take that attitude
right.
that you have with the chicken place. Like,
Sure.
I want to create the environment
Sure.
and then hand it off.
Right.
And
I mean, that's what Disneyland is, so it makes sense
if
to me.
more of that could bleed through
Right.
to what we're doing right now, that would probably be good. And
It would be good,
it's
actually.
starting, but it's not all the way there. There are certain things that we have the tendency to hang on to, and if we could actually let go of those
Sure.
a little bit more, we've done a lot of homework, so it's probably going to be better for both parties involved as long as we're very, very clear about the expectation
And like what I won't be doing.
and yeah,
In that case, yeah.
oh,
For
like
sure.
what everything's in agreement. Like, what do I
Right.
expect from you?
Yeah.
This is what's on the table. This is what I need. This is what you can expect from me.
Right.
And this is where we're going forward. So just
Sure.
picture it through the lens of how clear would you be able to be if you were starting this chicken spot? You'd be like, okay, cool.
Pretty clear.
Check it out. We're starting a restaurant.
Right.
This is what I have. I have a vision for the service and the guest experience.
Yeah.
I have a recipe and a standard of quality that needs to be met.
Every
and
time, yeah.
I've got X amount of support that I'm going to offer you in terms of, whether they call it
Right.
mentorship, teaching, guidance, whatever.
Sure.
Like, these are my agreements.
Yeah.
This is what I need from you. Like, you have to take on this restaurant as if it's your own.
Sure.
That means you're ordering all the goods, you're doing the schedule, you're stocking the food. And we
Right.
have
You find the stuff.
we
you
have
do the
most
stuff.
of that, but we very easily like dive back in and bleed. And I think for me it's tricky because coffee has been such a huge part of my life that I'm incredibly psychotically
Right.
particular, almost in an unhealthy way, about some things that revolve around this coffee sphere.
Sure.
And with I mean, your chicken's undoubtedly good. Like,
Sure.
it's undeniably good.
Right.
But there's also this blessing of you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
And the fucked up thing about coffee is we kind of fucking know pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
and we can see it all, and that creates its own pain points. We can't just have this like, oh, we're opening up a chicken place and we have awesome chicken sandwich, and it's literally that simple.
I think that's the insecurity, right? Is that because of what I don't know, I feel like, and you're right, I think it's a blessing more than a curse if the people who are willing, say we did it, right? If the people who are willing to run it and own it are willing to walk through and figure some of that shit out, which would be on the table. Be like, look, I got a recipe. I don't even need to take full credit for this thing. Like, I want this to make you famous. I want this to make, well, should it be famous? I'm like literally shooting for the stars in that one, but right. I want this to make you famous. I want this to give you and all the people who work at this place opportunity and a job that's fun and create a rad culture. Yeah, I've got some real clarity. This is how it tastes. This is what it looks like. This is the simplicity. This is what it feels like to come in here. And then details of how the place looks, figure out, give a little bit of creativity for like one or two other things to the person or persons who run the shit, and then make it happen. Like, absolutely down. The insecurity is like, putting all that on somebody and then being like, I actually don't know how to help with a lot of this stuff because I've not done it.
That's not actually true,
And
though.
that's, well, you're right. I think I could figure and help, but it's just, that's the insecurity of putting something that I don't know the full scope of on somebody else. And at the same time, if they accept it and want it, it's not a problem at all. That's just the insecurity of like, ooh, I accidentally made a really hard job for somebody that probably will also be awesome. Nothing wrong with that, just an insecurity. You know, as somebody who likes to help. And be like, you know what? I can't help you with that because I actually am going to go do a whole other thing. Enjoy the chicken restaurant. I can't wait to come back a lot of times. I love this place.
But that's
and
exactly where we are in the coffee shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly the same place. Because when you're talking about passing the baton, it's like, unless we have some version of that attitude, everything that we just talked about stops.
Yeah, totally.
Because if you're talking about fractions, like if you're talking about percentages of your attention, right? Let's say we open a coffee shop and we give the coffee shop 100% of our attention.
Yeah.
Then we decide, okay, there's some opportunities to grow this thing, which has always been the plan.
Sure.
To connect the dots, like bring our experience to more people.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? That looks like doing more QC and growing in the green buying department. That looks like growing our partner program and wholesale. That means pushing in to grocery. That means growing the number of cafes. That means doing some collaborations with like-minded companies. So we have multiple, a tiny little company like ours, 60 something in people.
Yeah, we're on our way back to the 70s. Yeah,
on our way back
awesome.
to 70. And
the road back to
we've probably got 8 to 10 departments in this tiny little company, all of which need attention from somebody.
Right.
So now, even if we are mostly hands off, but are still giving only 10% of our attention to each of those different departments,
180%.
that's a lot of fucking energy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True. It's true.
And then that
Absolutely.
adds up to this place to where no matter how much autonomy the people that are running those departments have, we are still stuck because we're using a ton of our emotional bandwidth touching base with these little things. So figuring out a way to disconnect in a healthy way that empowers people is going to be better for us and them, because it allows us with a clear head to go do that thing, which is, okay, cool. Here's our agreement. You got this.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to this cafe in the same way that I'm going to come to my chicken restaurant.
Right.
I believe in you. Here's what we're doing here. You've graduated and you need to freaking handle this. And I'm not going to talk to you about chai. And I'm not going to talk to you about this, that, and the other. And it doesn't have to be like a punk move. It's everyone's excited.
We're just stepping into our truth for the betterment of everybody.
Yeah, and when you have the right like we talked about this a little bit at our last Friday meeting, and I could see other people's faces light up when we were talking about what's going to happen in the future and actively setting aside some brain space to take this thing and boom, blow it up a little bit more, because everybody wants it.
Everybody wants it.
So, but
it's
you
perspective.
can't do it without that. Without that agreement.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, it's true. It's what I absolutely believe. It's just walking through that and absolutely handing it over. And I feel it happening too. You're totally right with the cafes and things. I feel so much better. And I feel like there's going to be an ability to engage and help in more of these ways. And it's true. We did it in the roastery yesterday. Like I walked through, which it helped me to see like, oh, we actually need like a full on like screen so I can teach. But it was like, we tasted coffees that these roasters, who most of them are really new, roasted. They pulled one that they think they nailed. They pulled one that they think they didn't in terms of curves. We tasted them. We talked about what we tasted afterwards, and we looked at the curve. And it was quite the moment, because all the work that we've been doing in the roastery, which was consistently behind and like scratching for breath and air, has now, and we're able to, again, you're right, like, I can lean in and do whatever, an hour, 2 hours a week. Which, whatever, I guess that is approximately somewhere around the 10-ish%, give or take. And genuinely, they walk away with like a better perspective on how to approach the coffees, what happened, why it happened, and we're making people better. So it's a healthier, and it's for sure a more engaging thing, and it does allow interest in the ability to spend energy to do the new, which is huge, because before there's interest, but there wasn't any energy for it. It's just, I'd like to, but I can't even think about it,
Thanks for listening, y'all. This podcast is an extension of our mission to inspire connection by creating memorable experiences. If you want to get more acquainted with what we do, you can go on over to catandcloud.com. There you'll find a little bit of everything. If you want coffee, we got coffee there. If you want to be directed to some other magic media, basically it's your hub for all things Cat and Cloud. If you want to dive in on a deeper level, we do have a Patreon. It's $5 a month, about the price of a latte each month. You get a peek behind the scenes of what we do here, unpacking some of the ideas that we talk about during this podcast, rants and raves, Q&As, Jared and I just talking shit together. Biased opinion, yes, but I think it's a lot of fun. So thanks for listening. Go out and inspire someone to do something amazing. Bye.